Hi, my name is Pascal, and in this video we will see how to use the DJI Pocket 3. This is a full user guide. After watching that video, this little camera shouldn't have any more secret for you, or almost. As this is a big video, it is all chaptered, so you can go on the timeline down there, and if ever I talk about something you don't care, you can skip to the next chapter and I won't care. So let's start with the first point, how to power on and off this camera. Well, the main way to open the camera is to flip the screen just like that, and as you can see, this turns on the camera. If you want to power it off, you can flip the screen again and wait 2 seconds, and the camera will power off. There is another way to power on the camera, and it's to press on the record button just right here. So just press it and it turns on. But when you do that, you got that screen that is not full because it's in landscape mode while the screen is in portrait mode. So we can, again, flip it, and now you got your portrait mode with the screen in portrait mode, so the screen is full. You can also use the record button to shut down the camera. Of course, if you just press the record button, this starts the recording. So I will press it again to stop the recording. But if I press and hold that button, I can power off the camera just like that. And I can use the record button, of course, to power it back on. Then, next point, I will explain all the mode that there is on that camera, because that camera can not only film video, it can do some other stuff. So let's see that right over here. If you take a look at the lower left corner, actually there is a little camera. And this one says that we are actually in video mode. If I hit that button, you can see that there's a panorama, photo, video, low light, slow motion, and motion lapse video. So let's see them all one by one. So the first one is the panorama mode. It's not a mode that I really like. Well, it's interesting to have. It's just that it doesn't do such a great job. So basically you drop the camera on the floor, the counter, the table, whatever you want, and you hit the record button, and as you can see, it will take 9 pictures in different angle. And at the end, you're gonna have, well, those 9 single pictures plus the collapsing of all those pictures, and usually you have some deformation. That's why I don't really like that mode. Then you got the photo mode. So you really need to explain what this is. You point what you would like to take in picture, you hit the record button, and you got a picture of it. That's it. It's a simple photo mode. Then there is also the video mode, also very simple. You point what you would like to have, you hit the record button, it starts the recording, you hit it again, and it's done. Then we pass to some special mode. So if I go here again, there is the low light mode. So basically the low light mode is a video mode made for low light. And you will see if you use the camera in regular mode, video mode, it responds pretty well to low light. But the low light mode just responds even better. It's a mode that I will use really in extreme low light. So if I go film outside in the city and at night and there is street lights, I don't even go into low light. The video mode just works very well. But if I go somewhere where there's no light and my only light source is the moon or the reflection of the city in the clouds, there I will use the low light mode. and it will produce a better job. Otherwise, I just don't care about this. I use the regular mode. There is another video mode. If I go here, there is the slow motion mode. This one can record, and we will see that a bit later, up to 120 frames per second in HD, in 4K, sorry, and can go up to 240 in HD. But as you can see just right now, I did a video to compare both. And yes, even if it's slower in HD, you got a image quality that is way beyond when you film in 4K. So I prefer going up to 120 in 4K instead of going up to 240 in HD. But that's up to you. Next mode, and this one is kind of interesting because there is multiple mode into it. You see, it's the motion lapse, and actually it's not just motion lapse. I will just finish to do that, zoom in inside the screen to show you that if I swipe up from here, there is the motion lapse, the time lapse, and the hyperlapse. So those are three different mode, and what they are, we're gonna deep dive into it a bit later. But basically, those three modes are accelerated mode. So instead of taking more picture per second, it will record less picture, or even many times less than one picture per second, and it will merge that into a 30 frames per second video, so it will create an accelerated video. So for example, if you take one picture every 2 seconds, this means that it will take 1 minute to get 1 second. So you got a very fast video. So the hyperlapse mode is made. In fact, the hyperlapse mode is an accelerated mode that stabilizes the motion. So if, for example, you take your camera just like that and you walk, it will stabilize your walking in perfection, and it will create a very fast forward movement video. Something like what you see actually. This is an hyperlapse. It's an hyperlapse because I'm moving, and the role of the camera is to correct the instability. Then if you go into time lapse, it's the very same principle, but this one is static. So you set the camera somewhere stable, you point in the direction you would like to do your time lapse, and you start it, and it does something like that. Still very interesting, but more static. And then there's finally the motion lapse mode, and this one is made so that you can move the gimbal from a direction to another. Let's take a quick look at this one over here. I will move like that, and you see, if I go into motion lapse, you can record a position. In fact, we will see that right now. There is those two buttons over here that I can erase, and in fact they are position. So you need to be sitting on the floor, so you point where you want to start. So let's say that I want to start over here, and we'll hit the plus. You will see that this will record the position right over here. Hit the plus like that, and then I move to another position, let's say this one, and I record this one. And when I say play, it will show me the movement that this will do accelerated. And then you just hit record, and it will start to do that movement and move very slowly to get that motion effect over the time lapse, and it's create wonderful effect just like what you see right now. It's a mode that I love to use. It's just it create a motion into the time lapse, so that's the motion lapse. So yeah, it's basically it. It's very fun to use, and it create those beautiful effects. Now that we have seen all the modes, let's return to the video mode, because we will see something else. The gimbal. That's one of the main features of that camera. What the gimbal can do. There is different types of way to use the gimbal. If I swipe down my finger over here and I go here inside the gimbal menu, I am on the main mode right now, which is follow. So what follow do? When you hold your camera, just let me see another feature here so that is more evident. So we will see it a bit later. If I point left, right, the camera follow. If I point up, it follow up. If I point down, it follow up. The only correction it will always do is the level. The camera will always be level, just like that. That's the follow mode. And when I say it's the only correction it made, it's not the only correction it made because it smooths every movement. You see, when I'm done with the movement, there's still a bit of movement that is done on the gimbal to just smooth the stop and the start of my movement. Then there is the joystick over here. This one can be used in multiple ways. So if I point right or left, it will move right or left. If I point up and down, it will point up and down. And if I finish into that direction and I quickly want to return to the center, I can double tap it, and it recenter. If I triple tap it, it will move to the other side in selfie mode, and it will point toward you. Then if I triple tap it again, it come back to the other side. There is also another thing you can do with it, and it is that if, for example, you want to, we'll see it better like that. If, again, I point down, it point down. But if when I'm doing this, I'm holding down the joystick, it will keep pointing on you all the time. This one also, this one, it always point to you when I'm doing it. If I release it and now going up, it will follow up. Double tap, recenter. So the joystick keep the level of the horizon when you hold it. There is another mode that do that by default. If I swipe down, go in the gimbal modes and hit the tilt lock, this one, without pressing on the joystick, will always point forward. The only way to change that direction will be to use the joystick and point it up or down. If I hold it, it's still doing the same thing. It keep the tilt forward. It also keep that level, and if I go left and right, now it keep following. There is a last mode, which is swipe down, gimbal mode, FPV. This one is a bit more like the first one. So if I move left, move right, you can see that it follow a bit more quickly. If I go down, go up. And if I tilt, oh, now it follow the tilt. And there is still the joystick that we can use that will do about the same thing. So if I press and hold it, now as you can see, it stick to you. And if I move like that, it also keep the balance. But if I release it and I remain like that, if I tilt to the other side, well, it will keep that. It will record that I should stick to that degree and follow it. Double tap, recenter it. So that's another mode that you can use. But usually, probably that you will stick to follow. There is another thing just right here beside it, that is the rotational speed of the gimbal. So this is fast, as you can see since the beginning. So I do a quick movement and it smooth the end, but not that much. If you go on slow, slow, which is that feature. You got the choice between slow, default, and fast. So I will go to slow now, and you will see that at the end of my movement, the gimbal moved for few seconds after the end of my movement. So it's really smoothing the end of my movement. The beginning is a bit more harsh, but the end is so much smoother. So that's another feature that you can use it here. Then next thing that we have to see is all the settings there is. We will see that a bit quickly. Again, I will zoom in over here, and we will first see, okay. So swipe down. There is over here the brightness setting. So this is just the brightness of the screen. If you lower that, you will see less on your screen, but the battery should last a bit longer. There is here the screen rotate and capture. So basically you can enable that. So when you flip the screen, it starts capturing right now, and you can choose a default mode when you power on the camera. So you can go directly into hyperlapse, low light, or video, or just go to the last settings that you have used. Then there is this one. This one is to save a preset. This means that if you start, I don't know, maybe often you have to record video in 4K at 30 frames per second or in HD at 24 frames per second. So basically when you go in here, you can just hit the plus button and it will save the actual settings of the camera, so you can go back quickly to that settings instead of going in all the settings of the camera that we will see a bit later in the video and reset up all of that. So that little character is made for that. Then there is this one here that is to change to portrait, landscape, portrait, and auto rotation mode. So in landscape, that's what we are since the beginning. In portrait, you see that's what it does, but it made more sense to use it in, I will say continue, because when you flip the screens, that's what it does. But it made more sense to use a portrait mode with the screen in that direction. But still, in that direction, you can use it. Well, the auto rotation is made for that. See, it follow. And again, just continue. If I go here, I could also use the landscape mode with that screen in that direction. But you just have a smaller image. Make more sense to go into that direction. You've got so much more detail to see on the camera. Then what else do we have? We will need to go on the setting gear to see all the other settings, and this one we will come back to it. There's a wireless mic. Here you can connect the mic if you need to do that. We will see the mic a bit later. There is the gimbal starting direction. So if you wanted to point always forward, backward, or to the last settings, actually this is what I will use. So if I shut down the camera with the camera pointing on me, it will power up in that same direction. Then you've got the left screen power off. As you have seen, when I flip the screen, it automatically power off the camera after 2 seconds if I do not hit the 2 seconds. You can change that to never, so you will have to use the power button. Sorry, I did not turn on that light. Here, it's better. So if I go on never, you will have to use the record button to power off your camera. And if you go on now, you will not have to wait. That's up to you to choose. Then you've got the slider control, so you can choose between zoom and gimbal, but you can change that feature right here. The slider is this thing over here. You see the 1x, it's the zoom. Oops, I hit that button. The slider here, you see you can zoom with it over here. But if you want to change it, you don't need to go into the menu. You just have to click on it, and then it will change it to the gimbal. And it also changed the control of the joystick. So on that, I'm zooming, while this used the gimbal. So it reversed the option between the joystick and the slider. So Really, you pick what you want. Personally, I like to have the joystick to do the gimbal stuff, and I don't use the zoom because it's a numerical. It's a digital zoom. So when you can zoom on the video editing software instead of doing it on the camera. That's what I do. Then with selfie flip. Okay, selfie flip. It's, you see, I will rotate the. Let's go back here. You will see when I will rotate the gimbal, it will flip the image. Look at that. Doop. You see? Now the Sony brand on top. Yeah, it's tracking my face. If I move so you can see the logo of Sony here, you see that it's written reverse, as you can see. And if I go on the other side, whoops, doop, it flip again. So now it's fine. So when you enable that feature here, the selfie flip, this will make a recording flip. So the flip, the flip that you have on the screen here is only for reference. So when you are in selfie mode and you raise your left hand, it does the same principle as when you do that in front of a mirror, but it doesn't do that on the file. But if you enable the selfie flip option on the camera, it will reverse the file. I don't see why someone would like to reverse the image. It's weird to me. So I will keep that disabled. Then there's the built-in mic audio backup. And this one by default is at off, and I set it to on. This means that when you start recording with the Pocket 3, it will use the internal microphone. That's perfect. But when you use the external microphone that comes with the Creator Combo, or you can purchase separately, we will talk about it a bit later. When you turn that on, it removes the audio from the internal audio of the camera, and it replaces it by this one. But if you want to have both, you can enable that feature. This way, on the original file that you will have at the end, you will have the video file with that audio, and you will have a separate WAV file with the internal audio of the camera. So if there is something wrong with that sound, or if you have a cameraman that you have to listen to because he says some stuff on the camera and you are far away, well, you can both speak and you will have the audio recorded over here. So that's another great feature to have. Then we've got the OTG connection. OTG is for on the go, and it's basically made for a mobile device. I'm not a user of mobile device, so I never used that one, but you have the setting for the OTG connection over here. There is a wireless connection. This one is for your connection to your cell phone, if you want to use the Mimo app and those kind of things. It's in there. The wearable mode, I never use that, so sorry, I can't say more about it. The gimbal calibration, you will have to set your camera on something flat. You start it and it will recalibrate your gimbal if you ever need to do that. Then we've got the joystick speed. So when you move the joystick to move the gimbal, you can choose a speed between 1 and 7, I think. By default it's at 4, but you can accelerate it or decelerate it. Video compression, I think that by default it's on HEVC, high efficiency video codec, but you can also go to H.264. H.264 is more compatible. It's compatible with more device. HEVC is compatible with less device, but it's more efficient. Usually I didn't compare actually with the camera, but it creates smaller file size and it's better compressed. But it's harder to decompress when you want to read it. So you need a stronger computer to read it. And yeah, it's compatible with less device. Actually, I'm using HEVC, but in some case you might want to use H.264. Then sound, this is basically the sound of the camera, so the beep and all those stuff. You can lower it or make it higher, or you can also mute it. You can add reference line, you can add an anti-flicker, when you have lights that create lines in your camera, you can adjust it manually, but yet I find that the auto mode do a very great job. You have a time code over here that you can sync with other device, but I'm not a user of that. I'm using the audio to sync between many devices. You got a naming management for the folder and the file into your SD card. You can choose if the screen go off when you record. So if you want to save battery, you are in the long shooting, you can turn the screen off if you don't need to look at it. You can do that for never, or you can power it off after some time, between 3 seconds and 10 minutes. Then there's also an auto power off for the camera. The LED is actually this one. So if I disable that feature, it turns off the LED that is just right here. Then there is the continue live stream. You can do a live stream with that camera on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch maybe, and maybe some others. You have to start it with the Mimo app, and if it's already started, you can restart it directly from the camera. You can change the language, you can format your SD card, you can factory reset your Pocket 3, and you have some other stuff that are not interesting. So that's the full tour of the settings of the camera. There's still other settings. Is it what we see right now? Yeah, that's the settings of the recording. So actually on every mode there is different kind of settings, and there's always 2 pages. So there's the swipe up page, this one, that let us see the resolution, so we can move like that. So I can go from 4K to HD. I can go from 24 frames per second to 60 frames per second, and I can choose the format ratio. So it's on 16:9. It's like the video you're seeing right now, or you can go in square at 1:1. That's the setting we have here, but this change at every pages. As we have seen, it's the same menu that we have seen here in the motion lapse, where you can choose if you want to have a motion lapse and hyperlapse. If you want to have, well, you can, and actually in this one, you can choose the interval. If you swipe up again, if you go into the slow motion, as you can see, there is less features. And if you go in the low light, there is also less features. All modes are a bit different, but you have all the settings of your picture into that mode. There is from the swipe to left, you have some other features. By default, it's just like that. There's only 2 features. There's the glamour effect that when you turn it on, actually this is something that I think it's really not interesting, but it's some stuff that you can add on the Mimo app later. It doesn't change anything on the file if you just want to use it straight in your computer. But if you want to add some glamour effect, you can go see it in the Mimo app. You need to enable it first in the camera, otherwise it won't be compatible inside the Mimo app, whatever. And then you got some adjustment that I did go a bit too fast. You go in adjustment over here, and if you go on custom, you can use the noise reduction and adjust the sharpness. I'll leave it on default, but if you go in pro mode, you also have access to the white balance, so you can set a manual white balance if that's something you want. You can also change the exposure. So by default, if you remain on auto, you can change the EV. So if you want something darker because you judge that the evaluation of the camera is wrong, you can change it over here. And you can also select a range for the ISO. So if you say, I don't want the ISO to go over 400, well, you can set it like that over here and it won't go over 400, or you leave it at max and trust the camera. Then if you go in manual mode, you will be able to select a manual ISO or still the range, and you will also be able to change the shutter speed to the one you want, or go back to auto. There is also the color mode over here. This is the normal by default. It's normal 10-bit. If you hit it again, you got HLJ, G, and you got also the D log. This is something that I don't use because I'm colorblind and I don't want to give me the trouble to do color correction because I'm not really good at it. Then you've got the focus mode. You got the choice between single, continuous, and product showcase. So basically, the continuous will be the one by default. So you start recording and it keep following what it think it's the best to follow. Then if you go on the single one, you will have to tap on the screen and it will stay that way, it won't move. That could be a great thing to do if you have a static something, because actually the focus on that camera create a bit of zoom. So when the focus is working on something and the image is very stable, you can see the focus doing its job and searching for the focus point. And if you go on product showcase, it will do probably like this camera is not doing. If I take that pen and want to show it to you, that camera should, unless it all messed up right now, it should always track my face. It's not made to track object. So this one, if you go in product showcase and I show something in front of my face, it should focus on the face. This one can do it. This one cannot. And this one also sometime fully messed up the focus, which I hope it's not doing. That's the one I use usually for video, but now I need two cameras. So yeah, that's where we are. Next point will be face tracking. This one is fun. If you swipe down, I told you we will come back on this one later. So when you enable it, enable the face tracking on selfie mode. Actually, I just touched this one. So yeah, you just have to enable that one. If it's yellow, it's enable. And what it does is that if I reverse the camera right now, and because my face is here, you see it detect my face and, oh, sorry, I will work that one out. And you see it always follow my face. If I move here, it follow my face. It always follow my face. So that's the face tracking. Very convenient way to use the camera. It follow your face. And if it's not following your face, you can hit the joystick. When you are recording, it should restart following, or you can double tap on your face and it will follow. Whoops. Follow back. It works better when you record. And yeah, it's start again. Then there is some other mode. There is the dynamic framing. So if I hit that one, you see there is 9 spots on the camera. You can choose a spot with the joystick. So if I go with that one where my face is, well, now again, this will track my face. But if I hit it again and go over here and set something interesting to follow, let's say my pen, select it. Now, as you can see, it follow my pen. Not an object that is super great to follow. It might lose it. You see now, there's my face in it, and yeah, it's not perfect. Maybe just because it's a small device, but yeah. There's also the spin shot. So let's say that I go at 180 degree. This will make it move on top, and when you hit the joystick, it will do a 180 degree turn. You don't have to keep it upward. You can make it face forward and hit it again, and it will do another 180 degree flip. There's also the 90 degree flip if this is what you want, but yeah, that's this feature. Personally, I leave it on auto face detection. We'll recenter that, and right. Next point. Oh, I almost forget. If you swipe right, you have access to your library. And if you hit the button on top here, you have access to all the library and can see everything that you have recorded. Now, let's talk about some other features. The file transfer. When you're done with the camera, how do you get the files? There's 3 ways to do it. On the side over here, there's a SD card that you probably have already installed in the camera. You can remove it if you have nails, which is something I don't have long enough nails to remove, unfortunately, because it's my favorite way to usually remove the files from my camera. But as this is not an option right now, I can use the USB connection at the bottom, which is very fast, so this is not really an issue to not be able to remove the SD card. You can use a USB cable, connect it under it, connect it into the computer, turn on the camera and select file transfer. You have 3 seconds to do it, otherwise it's select the latest option. The other option is the webcam that I will talk about just after that. So when you select the file transfer, it opens like a SD card when you connect it into your computer and you're able to transfer the files. Now, if you want to transfer it to your computer, you will need the Mimo app. And basically, you just turn on the Mimo app with your phone next to your camera while it's turned on, and it will connect to it quite quickly and easily. But if you want help with that, you can see the video on the upper right corner. But yeah, once it's open, you can go in the library, select what you want, and download it to your phone. Very simple to use. Next feature, the webcam. So same thing, you connect it to your computer, but you may want to use the tripod or something to make it more stable, because you will have to put the USB connection here and you won't be able to make it stand. So maybe you can make it sit and point it to you. Yeah, whatever, maybe. But well, you connect it to your computer, you select webcam, and then whatever you use, Skype, photo booth, Zoom, whatever, you will be able to select the Pocket 3 camera out of your settings, and well, it just works. It goes up to 180 frames per, it goes up to 1080p. You can't go in 4K, neither 2.7K. The webcam only work in HD 1080p, and then you can choose between it's 25 or 30 frames per second, or 50 and 60. I don't really get that one, but it's the only choice you have. Whatever. That's the webcam mode. Then, oh, the microphone. The microphone. This one is really great to use. This one comes in the creator combo. Basically, the only thing you have to do, take a look at this. If I zoom out here, I'm already zoom out, all right? If the camera goes on here, by default, it will use the microphone. There is one microphone over here. There is one microphone over here. This one is a speaker, actually. And yeah, that's what it does by default. But when you come with the microphone over here and you power it on by pressing and holding the power button over here until the light becomes blue, it connects automatically to the camera. even if you are recording. It tells you the battery remaining inside the microphone, and you got that green line on top that confirm that there's an external mic that is connected to it, and it follow. If I put the mic really close to my mouth, actually you can see that it go higher here, and you can see that it really follow my voice. You see? So that's as easy to use like that. There is the fur here on top that can be removed, and I didn't try it, but this look like a 3.5 millimeter input if you want to connect a lavalier mic. That work on the DJI Mic 2 Pro, whatever the case that DJI sell, the other microphone that really look like this one, but it's not the same. By the way, they are not compatible with the Pocket 3. I mean, they are not compatible directly. You will have to use the transmitter to connect it. But anyway, you have this one, really well done. I always put the fur on top because I usually film outside, and well, it looked great. Whatever. There is a clip over here that you can use to clip just like that. I think it's too visible. Usually I like to hide it underneath. If you have another piece of cloth to put over, that's great. I use it many times outside with a big Odeon over it. The sound is perfect. There is also a magnet that you can use to put underneath your clothes, and well, it sticks just like that. So that's what I do when I'm going outside. I set it just like that. I put another OD over, so I'm not seeing that device. That is a bit intrusive. And yeah, that worked. There's also a record button on the side. There's, I think it's 15 gigabytes of memory inside. Is it more than the bigger? Anyway, there's a bit of memory inside. Yeah, it can record for a while, and you can. It's not turned on by default, but if you want to enable it, just in case there's a problem with interference while you're recording and your audio is gone for a few seconds. Well, you can connect it or USB to your computer later and get the file and sync it back on your video editing software. There's also the link button, but by default you don't have to use it. It's really simple to reconnect if you need help with that, or just because you have to buy another one and want to sync it with your Pocket 3. Sorry, there is the video on the upper right corner. So this is for the microphone, and now I will power it off and you will see that message on the camera saying that the microphone is now disconnected. Now let's talk about the accessories. I can power this off. I will not need it on anymore. On the Creator Combo, there is a few accessories. There is this guy, this one, and this one. Okay. This one is a bit useless. The thing is, it's sad because there is a tripod that is so well done. It's so tiny and you can just open it like that. And the thing is that you can't put the camera directly on it because it's a USB-C connection at the bottom, and this is a screw. So what you have to do is to set this little guy underneath. There's a USB-C connection here now that works super well, and then you can put the tripod underneath and you can sit your camera. So that's the way it works. But you have also this one that is twice as big, and that is a battery. So when you connect this guy over here, what it does, if we take a look at here, it says the battery remaining inside the battery underneath and the battery of the camera. So as soon as you connect the battery inside the camera, the battery discharge inside the camera and recharge itself. Now, if you connect the battery to a charger. This will charge. I don't know if it charged the camera first. This would be logical, but I'm not sure it's doing it. But anyway, it charged both of them. So you can do a very long video or a very long time lapse by keeping the battery connected. It will charge both of them and they will remain full until you have a power cut or anything. You can connect another power bank into it and you can run a long time just this way. And this one can also fit with the tripod. Unfortunately, now that's a very big piece of equipment, but that's a very good handle also. It's just that when you use it that way, it doesn't fit in your pocket anymore. But it's easy to remove. Just have to press on that little button and remove it. Then there's also this, which is a wide lens. That is actually disgusting. When you turn your camera on, you can just put it on front and it's magnetic. The only thing there is with that is that when you power off your camera, you'll see that it will stop there and then it goes to the other side. So that changed the direction on which you can store your camera. It's well, man. If it's on it, you can just store it like this. All right. And if I power it back on and remove it, by the way, you can store it inside this case. There's a magnetic place here and here where you can set it. And then when you power it off, it will fully go like that. And again, I can store it this way now. Yeah, now it's fully stored. Then there's also this bag that comes with the creator combo. You set the camera on the side of the DJI. You can set it inside here. If you store it for the first time, you may have hard time to fit it inside with the case. After you store it a few times and you force it a little bit, it worked, but it did worry me at the beginning. And then you can unscrew this. You can set the tripod first inside it and then the battery over. You can set the microphone on a side here. You can set the fur inside or on top. It's just that if you put the fur inside, it may get stuck in the zipper. So set it that way. And this useless piece, I usually don't bring it with me, but it's made to go right there. But you may have more hard time to shut it this way. You can also fit the cable over here and maybe have a little bit of stuff, and it should zip well after that. Almost. It really goes better if you remove that useless piece of equipment. So this is how you store it. Really, that's impressive. This little pouch contains a camera, a battery pack, a tripod, a microphone, and a USB-C cable. The camera can capture pictures, panorama, time-lapse, doing slow motion video. It can do hyperlapse. It can do motion lapse. It works well in the dark. At this size, actually, there is absolutely no reason that I'm not bringing it with me almost anywhere I go, unless there's water. Yeah, it's a really, really nice camera that I highly recommend. You can order it with the link in the description. And yeah, that's it for this video. So I hope this was helpful. If you have any question, please ask in the comment below. That will be my pleasure to answer you or even make a video to help you. just for you. So again, I hope this video was helpful, and I hope to see you in another video. See ya.